When I first met Emily, she was the kind of woman who made every room feel smaller when she walked in. Not because of her beauty, though she had plenty of that, but because she carried herself like the world owed her attention. I was drawn to that confidence. I thought it meant she was strong. Turns out, there's a fine line between strength and control, and I didn't see it until much later. I'm Daniel, 34, an engineer from Ohio. I used to think I had my life figured out. Stable job, quiet nature, and a belief that love meant compromise. Emily taught me that love, without respect, becomes submission. The early days of our marriage were good. She'd make jokes. We'd stay up late watching old sitcoms, and she used to call me her calm in the storm. But slowly, that storm became our everyday weather. It started with little corrections. Don't say it like that. You always take too long to answer. Why can't you be more assertive? I brushed it off as stress from her job. She worked in marketing, constantly competing for attention, so I figured she just needed space to vent. Then, one night, during dinner with friends, she cut me off mid-sentence. I was talking about a project I'd been working on, explaining how we managed to fix a major flaw before the deadline. Emily interrupted, laughing. "Oh, Daniel loves talking about his boring engineering stuff, doesn't he?" The table laughed politely, but I felt something crack inside. I smiled through it, though. I always did. That became our pattern, me shrinking, her growing louder. Every argument ended the same way. She'd talk over me, twist my words, and somehow make me apologize. "You always sound so passive," she'd say. "Be a man, Daniel." Then came that night. We'd been arguing about her spending. She'd bought an expensive piece of furniture we didn't need, even though we were saving for a new car. I tried to reason with her calmly, like always, but Emily snapped. She slammed her hand on the table and shouted, "You must stay silent when I speak." The room went dead quiet. Even the clock seemed to hesitate. I looked at her, my mouth half open, words caught in my throat. In that moment, something inside me just switched off. I didn't argue. I didn't yell back. I simply nodded. That silence, the one she demanded, became her undoing. Over the next few days, I stopped reacting. No more arguing, no more trying to explain. I let her talk, let her throw her words around like knives. But every night, when she fell asleep, I sat at my desk and planned my exit. Bank statements, copies of receipts, the lease transfer. I documented everything. Emily thought my silence meant obedience. It actually meant strategy. One evening, she came home, frustrated from work, and launched into one of her usual tirades about how I never understood her ambitions. She didn't notice the envelope on the kitchen counter, the one from my lawyer. I watched her pour herself a glass of wine, ranting about how her boss undervalued her. When she finally stopped to breathe, I said quietly, "Emily, there's something you should read." She rolled her eyes. "What now, Daniel?" I pointed at the envelope. Her laughter filled the room for a few seconds, sharp and hollow. "Oh, come on. What is this? Another one of your passive-aggressive stunts." But when she tore it open and saw the papers, her laughter died. Her face drained of color. "Divorce?" she whispered. "You're divorcing me?" I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just said, "You told me to stay silent when you speak. I've been doing that ever since." For once, she was the one who had nothing to say. But endings aren't always that simple. Because silence doesn't just end arguments, it gives people time to plot their next move. And as I would soon find out, Emily wasn't done with me yet. The morning after I handed her those papers, Emily was gone before I woke up. No note, no message. Just her half of the closet emptied and a faint scent of her perfume hanging in the air like a ghost that refused to leave. That I thought it would be over. But with Emily, nothing ever ended quietly. 2 days later, I got a message from a mutual friend. "Hey man, heard you cheated on Emily?" That true. My stomach dropped. She'd started a smear campaign, painting herself as the victim, saying I'd been emotionally abusive and secretive. People who'd known us for years started choosing sides, and it wasn't mine. For a while, I almost broke my silence. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, to show them the screenshots and proof of everything I'd endured. But then I remembered something my lawyer said. Silence is your best weapon right now. Let the facts talk later. So I stayed quiet. I moved into a small apartment across town, close to the river. It was quiet there, no shouting, no tension. Just the hum of traffic outside and the sound of my own breathing. For the first time in years, I could think clearly. Emily, however, couldn't stand the quiet. She sent me long emails, sometimes apologizing, sometimes accusing. One read, "You're ruining your own life out of spite." Another said, "We can still fix this if you stop acting like a child." But there was no fixing it. The silence between us wasn't distance anymore. It was a wall. Weeks passed. Then came the court hearing. She arrived looking perfect as ever. Pressed suit, confident stride, like she was stepping into a meeting she planned to dominate. I simply sat there, calm, with a folder of facts and a heart that had already let her go. Her lawyer tried to paint me as cold and detached. Emily cried at all the right moments, glancing at the judge like she was auditioning for sympathy. When it was my turn, my lawyer presented the documentation, her spending, her texts, her emails. Every word she'd used to belittle me now stood recorded in black and white. The courtroom was silent. The same kind of silence she once demanded. But this time, it belonged to me. When the judge ruled in my favor, granting me the divorce without alimony, Emily's eyes widened. She looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. Not the man she could control, but the man who walked away without a word. Afterward, she approached me in the hallway. "Daniel," she said softly, "you didn't have to do this. We could have worked things out." I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, "You taught me something important, Emily. You can't speak respect into someone. You either show it or lose the chance." She blinked, as if waiting for more. But I turned and walked away. That was the last time we spoke. It's been a year since then. I've built a quieter life. Not the kind of silence that hurts, but the kind that heals. I go jogging by the river most mornings, cook dinner for myself in peace, and sometimes just sit by the window listening to the city move without me. One evening, I got an email from her. "I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're happy now." I didn't reply, not out of bitterness, but because some stories don't need sequels. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's power. The kind that doesn't scream for attention, but leaves echoes long after the noise is gone. When people ask me what happened, I just tell them, I finally listened. Not to her words, but to the quiet that came after. That quiet was telling me the truth all along. And in that truth, I found freedom.